This morning, a community in shock in Buffalo, New York.
When I first saw him shooting, he shot a woman, he shot a deacon, he shot another woman, and then he went in the store and started shooting again.
10 people shot dead and live streamed the attack that is now being investigated as a hate crime.
This was pure evil. It was straight up racially motivated hate crime from somebody outside of our community.
It was supposed to be a normal working day for 55-year-old Aaron Salder, who, after retiring as a police officer, had gotten a job as a security guard at Tops Supermarket in Buffalo, New York. Everything seemed in order until 2:30 p.m., when he heard several gunshot sounds coming from the parking lot and saw a man carrying an assault rifle and heading towards the store. Aaron instinctively drew out his gun, ready to protect everyone inside the supermarket. But what happened next was something out of a horrible nightmare. Peyton Gendron lived in Conklin, New York with his parents, Paul and Pamela, who were both civil engineers, and his 2 younger brothers. The family seemed like a tight-knit suburban family that often wore matching outfits, playing laser tag together, enjoyed amusement park vacations, went to the beach and restaurants together, and opened presents on Christmas morning. Peyton attended Susquehanna High School, where he was known as a quiet, studious boy who got good grades but seemed out of place. He especially excelled in sciences, once even earning top marks in a state chemistry competition. While mostly quiet, Peyton had some really extremist views on politics and would sometimes do some really weird stuff just to get his classmates' attention. One time in 2020, after the COVID-19 lockdown, he wore a full hazmat suit to school for an entire week. This did not go down well with other students who found him awkward and nerdy. Then, during a political class exercise, when the students were told to create their own countries with the government of their choice, Peyton chose a totalitarian government, which his classmates described as Hitler-esque. On June 8, 2021, when Peyton was in his senior year in high school, he made a very concerning remark on what should have been seen as a major red flag. Apparently, a teacher had asked him about his plans after graduation, and he replied, "I want to murder and commit suicide." With the number of such cases going on in the country, the school did not take this lightly, and they immediately called the police. Peyton told them that he was only joking and that he said that to get out of class. But later, in his online journal, he wrote that he was actually not joking and that he planned to do what he had said. Still, a psychiatric evaluation found him not to be a threat, and he was released and allowed to continue with his life. That was a horrible mistake. On Saturday, May 14, 2022, at around 2:30 p.m., a man wearing body armor and a military helmet and carrying a modified assault rifle and head-mounted camera that was live streaming on Twitch arrived at the Tops Supermarket in Buffalo, New York. In the car, he had a hunting rifle with racial slurs and names of white supremacist mass murderers written all over it. As he was heading to the store, he was recorded on his live stream saying, "Just gotta go for it." He fired at 4 people in the parking lot and killed 3 of them. Then he entered the store and was confronted by Aaron, who fired several times at him. But his bullets could not go through because of the body armor. The gunman returned fire and killed Aaron. With no one else to stand in his way, the maniac started firing randomly at the people inside the store, aiming specifically for the African Americans. He hit 8 people, instantly killing 6. At one point, the shooter aimed his gun at a white person who was behind a checkout counter, but did not pull the trigger. Instead, he apologized to him and left to search for more black people to kill. Many of the employees and customers had hidden in the store's break room and barricaded the door with a large desk, while other customers were hidden by the employees in the milk cooler. The gunman reportedly fired several times through the coolers, but the bullets were stopped by the milk cartons. At 2:36, the gunman went to the front of the building and aimed the gun at his neck, intending to take his life. But the patrol officers who were already at the scene managed to convince him to drop the weapon, and he was soon taken into custody. A total of 13 people were shot during this horrifying incident, 11 of whom were black, while 2 were white. 10 of the black victims sadly died.
This morning, a community in shock in Buffalo, New York.
When I first saw him shooting, he shot a woman, he shot a deacon, he shot another woman, and then he went in the store and started shooting again.
10 people dead and 3 more injured after a gunman opened fire at a Tops-friendly supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood.
This is the worst nightmare that any community can face.
The crime shook the entire country, with everyone, including the president, asking why anyone would do such an evil thing. What did these innocent people ever do to him? The people he killed were well known and loved in the community and did not deserve such a horrible ending. Aaron Souder was declared a hero because he did everything he could to stop the shooter. Despite having retired from the police force, he was given full police officer line of duty death honors. Geraldine Talley was a mom of 2 and had stopped by the store to pick up some food for dinner. Before the gunfire started, she had reportedly asked her fiancé to go to another aisle to get something off of one of the shelves. That was the last time her fiancé saw her alive. 72-year-old Catherine Massey was also in the supermarket that Saturday doing her grocery shopping as she usually did. Her brother was supposed to pick her up after she finished running her errands, but she never came out of the store alive. Catherine was a civil rights and education advocate who did everything she could to uplift the Buffalo Black community. Pearlie Young was a 77-year-old Buffalo resident who had spent 25 years of her life feeding the needy in the community. She had gone to lunch with her sister-in-law on Saturday and was dropped off at the grocery store where her son was supposed to pick her up. 65-year-old Celestine Chaney was a loving mother and grandmother of 6 who had gone to the supermarket with her sister to buy strawberries for shortcake. When the gunshots started, the 2 started running for safety, but unfortunately, she was struck and killed. At 32 years old, Roberta Drury had moved to Buffalo from Syracuse, New York, to look after her older brother who had just had a bone marrow transplant. That Saturday, she went to the store to get dinner, but she didn't come out alive. Andre McNeil, 53, was in town visiting relatives, and he decided to get a surprise birthday cake for his grandson. Sadly, he never came out with the cake. Also in the store was 86-year-old Ruth Whitfield, who was a mother of a former Buffalo Fire Commissioner. She had just visited her husband in a nursing home and had decided to stop by the store to get something to eat. Hayward Patterson was a church deacon who would give people rides to and from the supermarket and help them carry their groceries. He was fatally shot while helping someone in the parking lot. Margus Morrison, a father of 3, was an active bus aide for Buffalo schools. He was also killed while running some errands at the store.
It was pure evil. It was straight up racially motivated hate crime from somebody outside of our community.
The shooter was identified as 18-year-old Peyton Gendon, and he had driven 200 miles from his hometown to kill innocent people that he didn't even know. People that had nothing to do with him, but he hated anyway. Why would he do such a thing? The truth was even more disturbing. Peyton wrote in his manifesto that it all started out of extreme boredom during the early days of the COVID-19 lockdown. Apparently, he had a lot of time on his hands, and so he found himself on the dark side of the internet, reading about conspiracy theories about how white people were apparently becoming extinct and that black people were somehow to blame because of immigration and low white birth rates. As crazy as this might sound, Peyton actually believed it, and he started thinking that it was his duty as a white supremacist to save his race from extinction. And in his sick, twisted mind, he believed that the only way to do that was to kill as many African Americans as possible. In December 2021, Peyton started buying the weapons that he would use in his attack. He already had a rifle that his dad had bought him for Christmas in 2020, so he added another rifle and a shotgun. He bought both weapons legally and then modified the rifle to accept about 30 rounds of magazines. Peyton said in his manifesto that he targeted Buffalo because it was the city with the most black residents that was closest to his home. He then looked for an area with the highest percentage of African Americans. He considered attacking a church or an elementary school, but ultimately chose Tops Supermarket because it served as a meeting place for many shoppers in the neighborhood, who were mostly African Americans. He started scouting the place and referred to Google's popular times graph to know which day and time was the busiest to carry out his attack. On March 8th, he drove over to Buffalo and visited the Tops Market 3 times, 12 p.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. He noted everything that was going on inside the store, including the number of Black and white people that visited the market. He even drew a map of inside the store. During his 4 p.m. visit, he was actually approached by an armed security guard who asked him what he was doing in and out of the store. He told the guard that he was collecting census data, but would later note in his diary, "In hindsight, that was a close call. I'm going to have to kill that security guard at Tops. I hope he doesn't kill me, or even harm me instantly." He wrote in his manifesto that he initially planned his attack for March 15th, but then delayed it several times, one time because he had gotten infected with COVID. On the day before the actual attack, he wrote on Discord, "I can't believe I'm actually going through with this. Never in my life would I think that I would be a killer. I keep going back and forth from, this is actually insane, to, this is the only logical thing to do." Shortly before the attack, he posted hundreds of pages of writings to online discussion groups where he details his plans for the assault and his racist motivation. He then opened a private invite-only server on Twitch and invited a few people to watch the massacre live. While the video was removed within 2 minutes, screenshots of it and some of the footage can still be found out there on the internet. Payton is currently facing first-degree murder charges and other hate crime charges, which could carry a life sentence or the death penalty. What do you think about this case? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe.